Kingdom Death Monster. This is your review for 2. Good day, my name is Joe Gerba. Today I'll be going through Kingdom Death Monster and how it plays with 2 players. Now normally I'd start with the kind of how to play section and then go into my review. I may have to do this all in one because this is a huge game. This box is gigantic. There's a ton of components, ton of cards. The rules are all over the place. The rule book's actually pretty good, but there's 3 parts of this game. There's the actual settlement phase, then you go on a hunt, and then you fight the actual monsters. Now in the base game, the Lantern campaign, you'll go through 25 of these kind of cycles, and hopefully by the end you have enough settlers, you have enough survivors to brave what this game is. So let's talk a little bit more about this game and how it plays. So let's talk about the hunt phase first. The hunt phase, you'll be going through a whole bunch of steps on this board. It's a pretty large board. Each one of these spaces you'll be tracking the monster through. You may have specific monster events or just random encounters found in this book. This book is 100 encounters, and there's a ton for each monster, each huntable monster you find, and it's a pretty back and forth. It's actually my least favorite part of the whole game. It's very who knows what's going to happen. Not that the rest of the game is random, because as you'll hear for the rest of the view, this game has a lot of randomness. But the hunt, a lot of terrible things can happen that are just out of your control, and that's kind of kind of a theme throughout this game. But once you find the monster, then you'll actually move on to the battle board and fight the monster. So as you move on to the actual fighting phase, the battle with the monster or nemesis, they'll be drawing these AI cards, and they'll tell you what they're going to be doing for the turn. All of them are brutal. They're devastating. None of them are just cakewalks. There's ways to game around it. You have 4 survivors, so on your turn, anybody can go and complete their entire action before moving on. It's pretty engaging. It's just a lot of randomness happens. As you wound the monster, or as you hit the monster, you'll be going through this hit location and seeing if you actually wound. And each one you draw is great. You have a chance to wound them, and then it becomes there can be a trap and you're doomed, which means you can't do much about it and you just get walloped on for the most part. It is cutthroat. As you be going through these years, you get better gear. So hopefully some of these easier monsters do become a little bit more trivial. But as you go through the game, you'll want to fight better monsters to get more loot. And at the end of this little fight phase, if you beat them, you get a whole bunch of loot cards, if you will. You get some resources. You'll get 4 basic resources and 4 to 8 specific resources to who you're fighting. Some of the monsters won't give you things, such as the nemesis, which you have to fight, but some of the huntable monsters will give you good resources to upgrade your gear. And that's one of the most fun part. One of the least fun parts is if you get wiped and all your survivors die in the hunt, and next hunt you have to bring all new people. But that's a little bit about the fight phase. I don't want to go too much into it, but let's go to the settlement phase. Now the settlement phase is my favorite part of the game, and I know that may be a little off-putting, but for a lot of gear grinders, for a lot of those people who are looking for the most optimal upgrade, this is where you're going to get it done. Unfortunately, at the start of it, you're going to have to draw a random settlement event, and once again, these are never good. But as you go through this phase, you can unlock different places to upgrade your gear. The gear grid is really neat. You get 1 per survivor. You have 9 spaces to put this. As you kind of look at these kind of combos you can build up, the affinities, if you will. They can give your survivor different abilities, during combat, and allowing you just to control combat a little bit better than you would. But my favorite part about this game is the settlement phase, because I love getting new items just a little bit at a time and watching it play out as you go to the next hunt encounter. So that was a little run through about the game. So let's go through the components. You get a lot of components with this game. There is a ton of gear. There is a ton of monsters to fight. Now, I will say the entry to this game is high. Not only monetarily, but time-wise and investment-wise is high. And I say that because each figure comes unassembled. So if you've never built a miniature before, you'll have to put the arms on the torso, glue the torso to the legs, get the legs attached to the base, and that does take a little bit of time. So this isn't just an out-of-the-box experience that you can just pick it up, put it up. You do have to put in a little bit of prep time. You have to get everything sorted. It will take you almost an evening by yourself or with your buddy, friend, wife, and it'll just take you a while to get everything organized. And that's kind of off-putting for some people. You can't just get this to the table, within the first 30 minutes or so. It is going to take you a little while just to get organized. But the components in this game are off the charts. They give you a lot of miniatures. The models are fantastic. The cards are great. I highly suggest sleeving, especially some of the hit locations. Those do get shuffled quite a bit, and you definitely don't want that trap to be, a bent corner, or you may, not play this game fully random as it should be. The book, nice hardcover book, black page fringes. This is just the quality of this game is top notch. And you get some beautiful just cards, miniatures, boards. Everything in this game is it's an experience in itself, just opening the box for the first time. But it will be overwhelming, and that's not where the overwhelmingness stops. So we go on to the rules. The rules will also take you a little while to get through. The first one, they try to walk you through a little bit. And it's not that hard. You roll to see if you hit with whatever weapon you're using, and then you draw the hit location. Then you see if you wound. As these monsters, as you want to hunt high-level monsters, they do get tougher to wound, and they may have more abilities and do a lot more damage. But the rules itself, I'd say, are medium. But there are a lot of them. So they're not complicated, but there are a lot of rules you have to remember. Reference sheets come in handy. There are a lot of pages I want to mark. Anytime that you have a severe injury, you always turn to that table. I have that printed off. There's some of these terrible things that can happen. You just have to stay organized with this game. And the rules actually do a pretty good job. There's a great appendix in the back. They give you plenty of resources as far as settlements. They give you plenty of settlement sheets. You have to print off more character sheets because your your survivors, I should say, will die. And it's an unfortunate truth with this game, but it's in the title itself. It's called Kingdom Death. And so you have to expect that death is inevitable in this game. Now, table size. Let's talk about the table size. The table size needed for this game is huge. You want to keep everything organized. Down below, you can have your stuff, but my table's a 3x6, and I still feel like this sometimes is a little bit cramped. I've played at other gaming tables where we've had stuff all over the place, and that's not really how you want to play this game with two players, because you both need to be organized. It helps streamline the game, and you need everything laid out. That's why it will take you a little bit on the first time to get everything set up, but just make sure you have a big enough table size where you're not having to put everything up every time. That'll really speed up and make the game more enjoyable. Now, setup's a whole different thing in itself. Each of the hunt, the fight phase and the settlement phase will all require their own little setup. we've gotten those down to about an hour to do all 3, but the setup in this game is one that you will not want to take down. This is a tough game in itself, and it's a tough game to get back to the table. This is not one of those games that you're going to play once, put it up, go play Quacks of Quedlinburg or something else on the table, then pull it out again. It's just the amount of time to set this up over and over, if you're not just going to leave it out for a long time, it's a little bit taxing after a while. So this is one of those games that you want to be able to almost dedicate your gaming table, dedicate a space in your house that you can leave this set up. And that's another tough part about this game is, unless you're going to play for hours at a time and really get the most out of it, setting it for an hour, playing, then putting it back up, it's really tough to grab this off the shelf again and put it on the table. But if you can have it set up for a long time, you can really get the most mileage out, and it's not as daunting, it's not as taxing to get back to the table. Now let's talk about the gameplay and the difficulty. This is a game your survivors will die. You know, they may have a little advancement here and a little advancement there that can make them better. And then all of a sudden, you roll a brain injury and they die. What makes a fight phase, what makes an encounter even tougher is when you only have 3. So, with 2 players, controlling 2 players each, that's not as bad. And that's why I do like this game for 2 players, is that both people can control 2 players, and if one of theirs dies, they're still in the game. Player elimination won't be as bad in this game, and it'll definitely feel interactive. And as I said before, there's a lot of bookkeeping in this game, and it helps when one person can keep track of, just 2 people and the settlement while the other has the resources. But the difficulty in this game, you guys have to understand that, bad things are going to happen. And that's just how this game works. A lot of this game seems like it's based on the 30-70% rule. 70% are okay, random encounters. 70% are not bad. Some can even be pretty good. However, the other 30% are usually abysmal. They're usually catastrophic, at the time. And this game's about overcoming that. But you just have to know that the difficulty in this game is high. There's a dice mechanic, which is random. There's a hit dice mechanic. When you get hit, you'll roll to see where you get hit. Another randomness. You don't know what the AI is going to draw until after they've gone through the deck. The hit locations are random. You could draw 2 traps in a row and just feel like the end of the world is coming. But that's part of the game that you signed up for and that you're getting. So you just have to know what you're going to get when you get this game. This game is hard. It's difficult. It's very random. Your survivor, you may beef up, may lose an eye, be blind, maybe minus accuracy, and he has all this strength, but he can't hit the monster. Well, do you take him on the hunter? Or do you take on some new guy with a little bit less experience? And it's super difficult. You should not go through this game the first time and just expect to win. This is a cooperative game that you're going to play with one other person, and you both control 2 people. You both control the fate of your settlement, but bad things will happen. It's not avoidable. Some of it can be mitigated, but usually on a 1 through 3 on the dice roll, on a D10, usually 1 through 3 is not a good result. And you're just going to have to live with some of that. So this game is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. I just want everyone to be aware as they go through this that the cooperativeness is super high, but things aren't always going to go your way. There's other games such as card games where you have a lot of mitigating strategies that you can take. But this one, sometimes there's just not a lot you can do. Now let's talk about the replayability though. Replayability in this game is very high. You can go different strategies, you can try different things. There's a ton of things you can work towards. Some of it you may not have too much of a say, like which resources you get, but sometimes you can try different things out. You only have four survivors at a time, so you never lose your gear when they die. But with 2 players, you can definitely talk it out. Try different strategies during the encounter phase. Maybe you want to go a little bit more range. Maybe, as you learn stuff, you get much better at this game. And so the replayability is very high. The expansions themselves, each of them have their own book they kind of go through, add a whole bunch of new and different equipment, different places, different challenges. And I stress challenges because this whole game in itself is a challenge. But there's always something new to try in this game. Now, I kind of already touched on luck versus strategy. This game is very high luck, but also very high strategy. Almost everything is luck, but that can be mitigated with some pretty good play. Knowing what's coming up, like the replayability, like I talked about. Sometimes you got to beat your head against the wall before you're like, maybe we can't go this way. Maybe we got to go about it this way. But just know this game is also very luck based, and that can be good and most likely bad. I talked about the playtime a little bit earlier. We can get the playtime to about an hour or so, controlling 2 characters, and that's going through the hunt and then the encounter and then the whole settlement phase. And usually you can stop after the settlement phase or before it if you want to go into the new session kind of fresh and potentially new ideas, or you can finish up the settlement phase with new equipment and go, all right, next time we got it. But each lantern year will take about an hour. In the original campaign, there's about 25 lantern years. So you're looking at just the base game lasting about 25 hours if you can make it through. So this game is long. It's a campaign. They call these things campaign. You can do a one-off, you can gear your survivors up, but that's not how this game is meant to be played. This game is meant to have big story arcs for some of your survivors, or short story arcs for some of them, depending on how long they last. But playtime, you can expect an hour per kind of session, and you can knock out a couple sessions in the evening if you have the time. So is this game good for 2? Well, I think this game is the best with 2. Now you have, like I said a little bit earlier as well, 2 survivors, a person. It's very engaging. My favorite part's when you get to the settlement phase. You can kind of talk it out what you want to do. You get that cooperative, I need to share the resources. When you bring 8 resources back, how do you want to use those in the end? Your person doesn't have any headgear. We should probably get you some headgear, but I really want to innovate. I really want to get that next, up our survival limit, up this. I think this game plays great with 2. With 4, there can be kind of player elimination for 30 minutes or so if they die really early on, or if they die in the hunt. That's one of the worst things. Yes, they can control the monster, but how fun is that? You want to have your survivors, and with 2 players, I think it's a lot of fun. I have tried this with 1, so I can say I've tried this with 1, 2, and 4. 1 is a lot of bookkeeping. This game is overwhelming with 1. Now, some of the most dedicated people can do it, but with 2, I really like it because somebody can, do some of the bookkeeping over here while somebody's setting up over here. With 4 players, it can get kind of congested. Somebody can be sitting around for a little bit. Like I said, player elimination is terrible. But with 2, I think that is the optimum player count for this game. For this game, I am not going to recommend it or not recommend it. I really like this game. It will stay in my collection, but you really have to do your research before you buy this game. This is not a game you just blindly go buy and then hope one day you're going to play it. You have to have a dedicated person to play it with. You yourself have to be dedicated. Somebody in the group has to build the miniatures. I like them painted, just a little bit extra. This game is not cheap. It takes a lot of time and dedication to get to the table. My wife and I did finish a campaign that we had on the table for 3 weeks. So we were able, on our kitchen table, on our dining room table, my wife and I trudged through this campaign. A lot of turmoil. We lost some of our best survivors. She had times where she lost and got attached to people. We lost resources that we worked really hard for. Not just the time, it takes to get to the table, but the mentality you have to have as well. You can't just go in this game going, oh, it'll be another cooperative game, Forbidden Island, or something a little bit lighter where we can just, go through in about, 30 minutes or so and dilly-dally. This is an investment. This is also a mental investment because, like I said earlier, your people will die. I've had to rip up character sheets because, once they're dead, they're dead. You can flub the rolls all you want, but will you be getting the true experience? The true experience of this game is brutal. But with 2 players, I really do like it, but I can't, and I stress, I can't recommend it unless you do your research and know what you're getting yourself into in this game. It is a campaign game. It is a big game. I love this game. My characters die and I get mad at this game. I love it when I roll a Lantern 10 and crit on the hit levels. I love that part about this game. I hate it when my guys get knocked down and I'm out for a round, but I got that other person. Like I said, with 2 players, I love playing this game. The hunt is just, it never seems like a worthwhile endeavor, but you have to get to that monster to get your resources, because in the settlement phase you get to get more awesome gear. It's a sweet RPG. There's so many ups to so many downs. This game is super random, but sometimes when something's random, you win the lottery. Other times you lose the house. So I can't recommend this game for everybody, but it will stay in my collection, and I love this game for 2 players. It can be played with 1, with 4. Like I said, too much player elimination for me, a little bit too much downtime. With 2, I feel like we're always doing something, always communicating. With 2, I love this game, but watch out and know what you're getting yourself into. Do your due diligence, check on BGG, watch other reviews, do anything you can, but research this game and know what you're getting yourself into. And this game is awesome, but it's also draining at the same time. And that's Kingdom Death. So until next time, you guys have a great day.